Today I wanted to share with you something very simple that is immediately life-changing, really easy to do. It doesn't require anything you don't have. Stay with me through this, and by the time it's over, you are going to be ready to experience the world in a new way. I guarantee it. So here is my very fancy Granny Ronna graphic, and we'll go through it. But what it represents is that every one of our senses, our eyes, our ears, our mouth, our nose, our sense of touch, every one of our senses is there to nourish our process of co-creating a meaningful life. Whoa. If you aren't able and you lack a sense, even then, the senses that you do have can be used with intentionality to help you create the beautiful, abundant, meaningful life that you want and that I want for you. So let me just go through. I'm going to talk to you about my experience, which I'm talking about so you can see if in my granny experience there are things that come up for you. Make a quick note of those and you can follow them. This is a challenge for you for the next week. So let's talk about eyes, especially now, is that we can use our eyes as the way we distract ourselves, or we can use our eyes as the way we inspire ourselves. It's a choice. Do we want to use our eyes as a speedway to inspiration, or do we want to use our eyes to numb out? When we're scrolling, that is literally killing time. We are killing time. All of us only have so much time. So maybe we want to kill time a little less and be intentional about how we use our eyes for inspiration. So let me give you a few examples of that. This week, I follow Aaron Dowdy, who put up a podcast that Andrew Huberman did with Dr. James Hollis. I gotta tell you, I looked at it. It's like a 2-hour and 40-minute video on YouTube. And I was, I don't have the time, no. And then I realized I don't have the time not to watch this. It was so incredible. Dr. Hollis is probably as old as me, maybe a little older. He's a Jungian analyst, and he talks in a very simple and practical way about how to live. So down below, we'll put a link. This is me pointing down to that podcast so you can catch up with it yourself and see if you agree with me. Watch it in 15-minute chunks. Another thing that I find works better than scrolling is if I am scrolling through a book. I am old school and I tend to prefer print to audio. We'll get to audio in a minute. I go back to books that I know I can count on for ideas. This week, I'm extremely impressed with Dr. Tara Swart. I follow her on Instagram where she provides a lot of great content. Dan Coe also has been on fire lately, providing a lot of great content. And so I'm going back and reading their content. Both of them write more than they do videos. And so I'm following more sites that provide me things to read than things to scroll. Now, full disclaimer here, I am addicted to scrolling and looking at cute animals. I love puppies. I love that lizard. I love animals cuddling, but I've now learned that I have to set a timer for myself of how long am I going to do that and have intentionality around I am doing that to lift me up. There was some bad news in the family this week, and I needed a day with more animals loving each other in it. That's okay. Just stay intentional about why am I looking at this now. Ears. That's another one. We receive so much through our ears, and we learn to screen things out. If we heard everything that was going on, if our attention was diffused and there was all this noise coming in, we'd be overwhelmed by it. Pop-Ups and I have been doing is using guided meditations every morning to start the day by listening to someone calling us back to ourselves. It's a voice calling us back to ourselves. We prefer different people. Pop-Ups is really resonating to John Kabat-Zinn. We can put a link to that below also. It's easy to find your own. The thing about it is as simple as saying, what is the first thing I listen to in the morning? What is the first thing I listen to? Is the first thing something that is going to call me to my better self? That makes a difference. And I think that's what our ears are for. Sometimes I feel like I have my ears on the outside and I have another set of ears on the inside. And those are the ears that are there to listen to my inner voice. You know, we all have those inner conversations, and what I hear through these ears will go ricocheting around inside my being, and I can start hearing those small voices that tell me, oh, maybe you want to do this, maybe you want to do that. I think that's a bad mistake. And so it comes to choosing what voices we're listening to. Who do I listen to? Who do you want to listen to? That's a big question. So my best friends, my very best friends, who mostly, although not only, are people I've known a long time, are people who tell me things I don't want to hear. Sometimes people say things to me and it's like ear trampoline. They'll say something to me and then it bounces out because they're telling me something about myself I don't want to hear, right? I had a friend who said, a loving friend, and she said, Ronna, I keep watching your videos and your chin's always up. And I know I've got this kind of pugnacious chin thing. And it's like, that's who I am. And then when I started doing Pilates, I realized, oh, I can change how I hold myself. And when I change where my chin is, that changes the energy that comes to you. That changes the energy that I live in the world. That's really important. She told me that. I knew it, but she told me that. Your best friends are not always going to tell you what you want to hear. Yes, your best friends are going to say, oh, you look so pretty. But your best friends are also going to say, as they have said to me, things like, oh, you be bossy. Or, oh, you are stubborn as a Missouri mule. All of that's true. And listening to our friends who can be friends virtually, but people who we have a heart connection with, who tell us the deeper truth, that's what ears are for, so they can go on to those inner ears and get wired up to the brain. Smell, sense of smell. That's an interesting one. When I started thinking about it, I thought, when we go to the forest, we like to hike, we love trees, or we go to the beach. What we see lifts us up. Using our eyes lifts us up. But it's also the scent that lifts us up. We can smell each other when we've been out on a hot summer day. You know, my dog smells different on a hot summer day. There is so much information that's in scent, and the scientific community is doing a lot of experiments now on why what they call forest bathing is so good for the body. Why does that lower inflammation? Why does that help us heal autoimmune diseases? Why does it take our blood pressure down? That's because our nose, what we smell, like everything else, is wired up to our nervous system and it comes back down. Does it always smell great? No, but the information that comes from our nose is really important, and it's one we tend to ignore. So I was thinking about this and I decided, I'm going to experiment with scent. I had stopped wearing scent for a while. There was a specific reason. I was in Manhattan and I'd gone to a very fancy perfume store, and it was run by an even fancier Parisian. And I said, yes, well, I wear this scent by Chanel. And she looked at me and she said, yeah, I think that smells like bug spray. I think it smells like bug spray. I thought, oh God, I was so freaked out, I stopped. But then I realized I wanted a scent now that reminds me of nature. I don't want a scent that's for Pop-Pops, although I wouldn't have a scent he doesn't like. I wanted a scent for me. And with some experimentation, there's a company I like a lot, no affiliation with them, called Beauty Pie, started by a CEO named Marcia Kilgore. She started Bliss a million years ago. I've met her. She's phenomenal. And it's a service that lets you buy really high quality beauty products for less. And so I thought, okay, I am looking for a scent, and the name of the kind of scent I like now is Sylvan. Sylvan scent, meaning that it smells like trees. So I smell like a tree, a happy tree in summer. As you think about, what do you want to smell like? What do you want to smell? What smells inspire you? That will help take you to a place where you're living from your heart, which is what my friend Dr. Suzanne Steinbaum, another great person to follow, talks about, that especially for women, our hearts need care. And one way to live from the heart is to inspire our heart. Scents can do that. Another important sense is touch. And here, where did I show touch? Well, here is touch, like on your face. We talk about touch when we talk about romance, but we haven't talked so much about touch in terms of what gives us strength and what inspires us, or at least I haven't seen as much of that as I want to talk about now. So touch involves things like, how do you put on face product? Do you rub on your eye cream like I used to do, or do you touch it lovingly? There's an old movie called La Femme Nikita, which is kind of great and has been redone a couple of times. And there's one scene in it where this phenomenal, legendary French actress named Jeanne Moreau, like a legendary beauty, is teaching this young woman who's being trained to be an assassin of all things how to put on her makeup. And what struck me about it was that she showed her how to touch her face with love. So I'm kind of addicted a little bit. I have to stay away from get ready with me videos, and I have to limit how much I watch how to do a cat eye. What I notice is there's a lot about technique, and yet what works for me is when I see someone touching themselves with love. Are you touching yourself as gently as you would like to be touched by a lover? Are you touching yourself as if you have value? Your body knows, and you're touching yourself a lot more than somebody who gives you a massage. It's not that I'm opposed to massage. What I'm interested in is, what can we do for ourselves every day through our senses that gives us the strength to rise to the challenges of life? So I'm in the process of writing a book for you. It's about love and money, two things I know that I can share with you that I believe can bring you value. What I've noticed is there's a choice about when I use a pen and when I use a keyboard. When I'm having ideas, when I'm talking to you through my own self-conversation, the ideas come out through my pen. And what I realize is that my love for you comes out through the pen. And when it doesn't work, seeing the way I've written it, using my other senses, it'll come back and be like, nah. And I'm able to scratch it out and keep going. Writing itself, my brain is now wired to go directly to my fingers, so I can get information out quickly on a keyboard Finding emotion through a keyboard is different. That's why I write in my journal. That's why I have aqua notes with the little suction cup stuck up in my shower, so when an idea comes, I can capture it. We are all creators, and I believe that the sense of touch in creation is important through a pen or a paintbrush or through markers or colored pencils. Please share with me what you do with your hands to communicate that creates a touch that builds your life. We're talking so much about how to co-create a meaningful life. I promised you that by the end of this video, your life will be different. What I invite you to do is pick a sense that you don't use regularly. I bet you lean on your eyes a lot. So pick another sense that you are going to use today and maybe this week to get the information you need to lead the rich and meaningful life you want. And then comment on it, share with us, and we can use all of our senses. We can crowdsource our senses and co-create our beautiful lives together.